Today, you're going to learn the California Department of Corrections' favorite weapon to use against inmates. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today's video was inspired by a subscriber. This morning, he sent a comment, and let me put it up for you. At Spaceman Music 6853, he says, I thought the 14 was used in life-threatening situations. Hard to imagine getting shot by police for a fist fight. When he says the 14, he's talking about the Mini 14, a hunting rifle that is used by the California Department of Corrections. Now, before I get into the video, I want to let you guys know, when I first entered the CDC was still using two types of weapons, mainly. Now, there will be cops, very rarely, that will wear a sidearm, 38 on their hip. Never saw them use it, but they had it on their hip. Inside the building, they would use a 9mm rifle. And for yard incidents, they would use a Mini 14 rifle. California has a long-stated policy of no warning shots. They would usually start with the non-lethal rounds and then go straight from there to that Mini 14. If it was on the yard, if it was in the building, the 9mm. Now, if I remember correctly, it was around 1995 where they took all the 9mm out of the building. Why they took them out, I don't know. What we were told was it wasn't knocking anybody on their ass. People would get hit with that 9mm and continue their assault, continue their attack, continue to engage. So that's a little bit of the history. Now, getting to it's hard to imagine getting shot by police for a fist fight. Well, welcome to the California Department of Corrections in the 90s. Now, for those of you that don't know, Space Music was talking about or responding to a video that I did in regards to Corcoran, the Corcoran shoe, rooster fights, gladiator days, whatever you want to call them, where COs were literally pitting rival gangs against each other, letting them out to the yard together, betting on who was going to win, and in a lot of cases, shooting them to break it up. I'm going to put something up. A 1999 Los Angeles Times review reported that the 7 prisoners killed at Corcoran were killed during fistfights, and that none of those 7 was armed or posed the imminent threat of great bodily harm to another combatant that the paper identified as deadly force standard. In some cases, according to that review, the prisoner being attacked was the one who was shot. Now, I've said this before. It was not a stated policy. It was just something that used to happen in New Folsom. In New Folsom, if somebody was getting whacked on the yard, the guard would normally shoot the guy being attacked. And the reasoning that they gave was, if they're shooting the guy that's being attacked, his own people have already turned on him. There won't be any retaliation. But if you hit one of the aggressors, they may attack. This is another thing, LA Times. From 1989 through 1995, guards at Corcoran shot 50 prisoners. 7 were killed and 43 wounded, according to contemporaneous reporting. Now, those weren't all Mini 14. In the most famous case, the Tate case, it was a 9mm rifle, but that happened in 1994, before they removed all the 9mm out of the building. In California, you could lose your life over a fist fight. This is another reason why there's a no hands policy. Now, people are going to say, well, I thought you guys only use weapons. This is Corcoran shoe. In Corcoran shoe, you got wanded. Now, you could steal. There were chances to get stuff out there. Dudes were getting razor blades out there. But you see in these ones, 50 shootings Not one had a piece on them. Not one had a weapon on them. And it was a fist fight. Nobody was going to die. Nobody was going to lose their life unless the cops decided to fire their weapons. I also want to point out CCI Tehachapi. Let's put this up. According to official reports reviewed by the Times, 4 inmates were shot and killed by correctional officers at Tehachapi from 1989 through 1993. In those incidents, 3 were stand-up fistfights. 1 involved a small melee. In the 3 fistfights, no weapons were found. No warning shots were fired in those 3 cases. The prisoners had not inflicted serious injuries before the fatal shots. CDCR's review process nevertheless determined that the shootings were justified. Now, for those of you that saw the video I did on that correctional officer that calls himself Zap, most decorated in the history of the CDCR, Zap got injured for messing with somebody and they pinned a medal on him. So he messed with somebody else and got hurt again, and they pinned another medal on him. And you see in these cases, these things that I'm posting, these things that I'm letting you see on the screen, inmates were getting their lives taken, were having their lives taken over fistfights. A lot of them set up. Tehachapi, those were all setups. Corcoran Shoe, those were setups. And every single one of the shootings was justified. Every single one of the deaths of a convict was justified. The CDC has a history of encouraging very bad behavior by their staff. So I wanted to do this video because, I think a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of other states, they don't use guns the way the CDC was. Now, I want to point something out. Ever since they let the Big 4 out, ever since they shut the shoe down and they let all the heavy hitters on the yard, have you noticed you rarely hear of a shooting by the CDC? When you see these websites that show actual inmate on inmate attacks in the California Department of Corrections, you don't see guards running over there to break it up. You see them walking slowly. You don't see the puff of the Mini 14 hitting grass around them. You don't see anybody getting shot and dropping. Nope. The CDC is so mad that the shoe was shut down and the big people were allowed to come out that they're creating more and more avenues for violence, for death. So they can go back to the courts and say, look at what you guys did. We know how to fix it. Let's slam them all down now. That would be a terrible thing, man. Guys were in the shoe for decades, 10, 20, 30 years without breaking a rule. And that's exactly what the CDC wants to happen. They want to bring that back. Anyhow, that's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.